welcome to MCI Live. Thank you for joining us for our monthly segment. We're happy to be right here live into your homes. You know, we always are so excited to have guests and those around that help us highlight, talk about, and bring information regarding services and those things that are happening within and without Liberty City. But let's talk a little bit about the month that just passed us by. Can't believe we are smack dab in the middle of July. We are right here. June has come. We have transitioned from spring now into full summer. And we are so happy to be in full program mode at Miami Children's Initiative starting June 21st. Now up until July 30th, we have been in full summer camp at Charles Drew. And right now we have about 125 students that we're serving there through the K through 8 center. And we're so happy to be able to provide those services to children because that's our heart and our goal, to keep children off the streets, keep them safe, and not have the summer slide. There's a lot of educational lag that is potentially upon us because of COVID, but we wanted to get these students re-engaged, reacclimated to working together and keeping them safe, and we're doing that with 125 students at Charles Drew, and then we have another 35 at Miami Northwestern, and we're so happy to be able to serve that. And we've just recently had an explosion because the football team and the band has decided they want to be a part of our program. So we're so excited that coming into the fall, we will now be able to serve 60 students at Miami Northwestern. And so for those parents, grandparents, guardians who are watching and you're listening here today, we want you to know if you have students at Charles Drew or at Miami Northwestern, the Miami Children's Initiative is right there and ready to provide what we consider full wraparound services. We call it Cradle College to Career, where we can help and serve your children, but also serve you as your families. If you're looking for employment, we have a community space at 1901 Northwest 60th Street, located in what people used to call PSU. We're still there. We will be opening up in this coming August a new community space at the Dorsey Technical College. And you'll be able to have access and services, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And so we're happy that we were able to come to an end of the year with our educational session, start summer school or summer camp with our children. And then we were able to come to our fiscal end where we were able to host our staff and our end of the year celebration and got them ready. And that was really, really a great day. Also, we're happy to announce that our Evidence to Success, which we're being funded by the National Annie E. Casey Foundation, we're happy to say that we have moved now into phase 3 of that. Latasha Daniels, what in the world does that mean? That means that over the last 2 phases with Evidence to Success, we within Liberty City have surveyed and assessed a small group of children within the urban core to find out what their needs are. We've discovered in doing this work now 12 years as Miami Children's Initiative that often the cart is leading the horse. What do you mean by that? That means that sometimes we as administrators and educators say this is what the children need. This is how we're going to meet their needs. But we decided to find out what they wanted and what they needed. Again, if you are interested, as you are an early care provider or you're interested in finding out more information, you're welcome to contact us at 786-488-5512, or always you can find out all information happening in and about Miami Children's Initiative at miamichildren'sinitiative.com. But that happens at 12. At 2 o'clock, we come right back on that same platform where we have all of the invited community-based organizations to join us for the Together for Children network. What does that mean? That simply means that if you're interested in changing the narrative around children and families in Liberty City, we want to encourage you to join us at 2 o'clock on our Together for Children network. We're still meeting by Zoom. We're looking maybe further in the winter to resume back to meeting at the Joseph Caleb Center 5400 Northwest 22nd Avenue, which is the headquarters of Miami Children's Initiative, where they're on the 4th floor. But we want, in the meantime, again, you can reach right out to us. But let me get to my guests. I've talked too much. Those give you a synopsis of what has happened around Miami Children's Initiative over the past month. We've been excited about some things that are happening. But one of the major moments for us was finding out that our current mayor, Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, was moving forward with our city commissioner, our city county commissioner within District 3, Miami-Dade County District 3, Commissioner Keon Hardiman, in pushing forward an anti-gun or anti-gun violence ordinance, which was entitled, and which is entitled, a Peace and Prosperity Ordinance. This is what surrounded around Commissioner Hardiman's recognition of what was happening within Liberty City, within our urban core, in Liberty City and over town, that there had been an uptick in gun shootings and gun violence, and as a result wanted to push dollars, county dollars, toward reducing that and improving the lives of children within those communities. And as a result, there was a tremendous amount of conversation and meetings and upset and happy and disgruntled, but yet pleased moments. But we're happy to say that in the month of June, that ordinance was moved forward. The county commission voted on it unanimously to ensure that resources were coming to the communities that would help reduce gun violence. I am terribly excited to have a voice from Miami-Dade County who can give our community better clarity on peace and prosperity, but most certainly what's happening with our youth in our community and the work and services being done to address it. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome Ms. Kathy Burgos, the newly and rightfully appointed Director of the Department of Juvenile Services for Miami-Dade County, better known as the JAC, right?
That's right.
All right, welcome, Kathy.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. First of all, thank you for having me here today. We are truly one of your biggest fans when it comes to supporting the Miami Children's Initiative. So it was an honor to hear from you and to have me here. When you speak of Mayor Levine Cava and you speak of the work that's being done with our commissioners, with Commissioner Hardiman, our Peace and Prosperity plan really focuses on prevention, intervention, re-entry, and community revitalization. Okay. Our Miami-Dade Juvenile Services Department, which is, thank you for the support, I'm the new director there. What we do is that we focus on at-risk children as well as arrested children.
Because when we think of the JAC, we automatically think of those, that's where the young people go who are found themselves in trouble, who have been arrested. So you're saying there is a kind of pre and kind of post, or in and post.
Yes. So Ms. Daniels, you're absolutely right. And the reason for that is that we started as the Juvenile Assessment Center, and we were a bureau under the Miami-Dade Police Department. Right. So everyone knows us as the JAC.
Yes.
But soon thereafter, we opened our doors. We became the Miami-Dade Juvenile Services Department, our own entity in Miami-Dade County.
And old habits are hard to break. So everybody say the JAC. But yes, ma'am, thank you for the correction.
No
Juvenile
problem.
Services.
Yes.
Okay. And that makes it more broader.
Correct.
Got it.
And that's the perfect way to see it. It's it's a comprehensive way of addressing the needs of children and families. I loved how you were talking about your programming. You talked about wraparound services, and that's what we believe in. What's really unique about the Peace and Prosperity Plan is that it is addressing children in the high-risk areas.
Okay, so it is targeted. It is targeted for children specifically in that, and we can say that's by zip code, but is it also by interaction with school, maybe some deviant behaviors? What are some of the identifiers?
So what we looked at was where the homicides are happening, where the gun violence is affecting affecting these communities
Okay.
the most.
Okay.
And we know through our Peace and Prosperity Plan, the prevention piece, we're really involved in that piece, our Juvenile Services Department, as well as intervention. This summer, and we've been working so hard, and I'm so proud because these are kids that have been in the Department of Juvenile Justice, that have walked through the JAC, that have been in the dependency system. We are employing, and we're starting next week through Miami-Dade County's Parks Department, we'll have jobs. And it's not your minimum wage. We will be paying our Parks Department $13.88.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hello. Absolutely, because I think that we have to have an honest conversation on how do we address poverty.
And the other part of that is you've got to put yourself or position yourself with the competitors, right?
Correct.
And who's competing for these young people's attention? Right. And if they really are going to invest, nobody really wakes up and say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a drug dealer. Nobody says when I grow up, I'm going to go to jail and shoot. That's not what they're aspiring to be. However, life is forcing them potentially to say, I don't have food, I don't have clothes, I want to be in the in crowd. We were all teenagers. We want to be the popular ones. And who has it? Those who are sharp dressed, those who have the swag. And what does that mean? I need money to have that. And what by any means necessary, I will do it. And you're saying you are putting in front of them an opportunity to get money without penalty.
Absolutely. And we're not just talking about any program. You know very well that Fit to Lead is an evidence-based program. So along with the jobs, we're also partnering with the Parks Department and my licensed clinicians, as well as other agencies, to provide what you spoke about, wraparound services. We know it's not just about giving that child a job. It's also talking about what are the assessment needs of that child. Is that child using substances, or there's some mental health types of issues that may exist, or family issues, or just being a child, peer pressure. We really have focused on putting the right types of pro-social activities in place to address exactly what you stated. Children do not wake up one day and say, I want to commit crime.
Right.
So we have to put those safeguards in place early on to address their needs.
But Kathy, now you're talking like a true licensed clinical social worker. You are. Would that be something that's in your past, or is this a part of who?
Absolutely.
Is this a part of the fabric of your being?
So it's part of the fabric of my being. It's also a part of the fact that Mayor Levine Cava is a social worker by trade. It all comes back around to having a comprehensive approach, right? So I started at the JAC. When you talk about it being a fabric of who I am, when I started at the JAC, I came during a time that we had a national demonstration project in place. We got to work with all the national researchers to find out what are the clinical assessment tools that are
triggers
needed,
that are making these children act this way.
Absolutely. And how do we identify them with evidence-based tools? And then what do we do with that information in the linkage of providing the right types of services for the population?
And I would imagine that was just two minutes ago in your career, right? Because you've only been doing this maybe two weeks or so. But
more than 20 years is
so
more
20
like
years ago, and walking into that role, have you seen trends? Have you seen differences, or do you see some things returning?
So one of the things that our former director did, and also with the...
And you've got to call his name. Listen,
if I must.
Yes,
if I
his
must.
name is okay in this space.
Okay, so Morris Copeland, the fabulous Morris Copeland.
Listen, who quit us,
Oh, no.
broke our heart.
No. I don't want to bring up any PTSD at all.
But we are going to laud and appreciate and praise Mr. Morris Copeland, who sat at the helm as our board chair for many years, recently was promoted to chief within in the new mayor's office, in the mayor's administration. And as a result, because of ethical and because he's such a straight arrow, he wants to do everything right. He did resign from our role, and we are going to terribly miss him. But we send love and kisses to you and support. Thank you for changing the lives of children through your administrative work and not being afraid to be a voice and speaking truth to power. Thank you for that. I have to say that in this moment.
A must.
Yes.
He's one of my mentors. And one of the things that he put in place, now Chief Copeland, right, put in place while he was at the Juvenile Services Department, is when a child committed a severe type of crime, right, we would do an entire administrative review. So what I've learned is that children begin to show some problem areas early on and the importance of prevention.
Okay.
So those are one of the things I think that are really emphasized on in the peace and prosperity plan.
Okay. And so understanding that it's an employment piece, it's also an assessment piece of what's happening all the way with these children, from potential what's happening in the home, what's causing acting out. But what are also some other levels? You talked about joining in collaborations, working with other organizations. How does that play out?
So one of the partnerships is with Miami-Dade Police Department through their U program, the Youth Outreach Program, really building the relationship between children and police.
Okay.
So we wanted to make sure that they were at the table, that they were a part of that curriculum, because I think it's a conversation that we must have. We also have, through the assessment linkage, as you mentioned, according to the elevation of the service need of that child, we're making the referrals. So for example, if you have a child that's really struggling with substance abuse, we're referring that child to a community-based organization for that service.
And I think it's so important to raise up to this community the realization of substance abuse among our young people. I mean, I was listening the other day because I've got nieces and nephews in town over the summer. They're here with me, spending the summer with me. And they were playing some stuff in the car, and I just listened because I kind of listen to a certain station all the time, or certain music. And I'm listening to this song talking about Percocet, Molly Percocet, Percocet. I'm like, are they really glorifying? I think rappers and the music industry have to take responsibility and not be so cavalier in just trying to celebrate a life that they're not even living.
Right.
But young people are thinking they are. So you are seeing an uptick. Do you think that that is a part of some of this gun violence? And what are some of the things that, because I mean, one of the things is, it's going to be a hot summer. It's going to be a bloody summer. What are some of those things that you're seeing that is probably contributing? Is it drugs or other things that's contributing to this violent uptick? So
one of the screening tools are being used when it comes to the population that's going to be served in the Fit to Lead summer programming is the ACE, the Adverse Childhood Experience Screening Tool. And I think that one of the elements that contributes to everything that we're seeing is trauma.
Yeah.
Is trauma. Many of the kids that we've served, as we're serving them, we're seeing, I don't want to say many, but we're seeing children that when they do commit something severe, they've been through some type of traumatic experience.
I got it.
And then when you start talking about substance abuse, is how young people may cope with those experiences. So there's a lot of factors. Gun violence is complex. And I think that's why the mayor has focused on so many different elements to really address it. There's some law enforcement types of tactics too. The intelligence aspect of it. We also have the Project Greenlight that's included, having those surveillance cameras. So
that's going to be interesting for our community. And I just don't believe the time has just flown by us. But talking about that Project Greenlight, I think our community needs to be aware that a part of this whole peace and prosperity is the capture of individuals who are committing crimes and this Project Greenlight is surveillance that will be increased around Miami-Dade County. Talk to us a little bit of what that means, because of course, as a community-based organization, I'm concerned for mom or people who are maybe riding with an expired tag or got some issues that now we're going to be targeting and creating more trauma to families in the wake of COVID and people still trying to get on their feet and all of that. So talk to us a little bit about Greenlight and how it works, and then we'll have to wrap up.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't want to speak on our Miami-Dade Police Department,
yes.
But you're right. It's a type of surveillance for businesses in some of these high crime areas. Those businesses have to agree to it, and then it will have a connection to headquarters, our Miami-Dade Police Department. So it's going, I think, to really allow businesses to feel like we have something in place that if
that I'm
they're
contributing,
and that if there's any type of crime happening, that these are cameras that will capture it.
Right.
But I think what you'll find with the plan, that it's really focused on the majority is on the services side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ms. Burgos, any parting words? Any way that if we have parents out who suspect that maybe their children need to be a part of this project, that they're exhibiting deviant behavior, that tween years, because we know that middle school area is a key part of trying to get kids on the right path. What would be some ways that they could reach your office to find out more availability of services or getting their needs met?
Thank you for the question. We have our prevention program, which is exactly for that population that you're speaking of. So you may have a child that has not had contact with law enforcement, but there may be showing some problem areas, like we spoke about substance abuse, maybe running away, maybe hanging out with the wrong crowd. So they can reach our department at 305-755-6282.
Okay.
And the way the process works is that we will do an assessment, assign a case manager to them, an assessment linked to services, and support that child and family from 3 to 6 months.
So 305-755
6282.
6282. Ms. Burgos, this has been phenomenal. Listen, I just told you I'm having a birthday. You're going to be one coming up soon. But for our joint age, honey, we look fabulous.
That's right.
For those who are listening on radio, listen, you're surely missing some eye candy. And for those who are watching, most certainly you can testify. Thank you. We feel very good about you being our department, leading that juvenile services department. Thank you for being a voice for our children, and we look forward to having opportunities to connect with you again. We'll be right back after these few moments of radio break. We'll come right back to you with our next guest. Well, welcome back. Thank you. And again, it's a pleasure to welcome you to MCI Live, our monthly radio and podcast show. We again want to thank Ms. Kathy Burgos, the Director of Juvenile Services for Miami-Dade County. I'm happy to hear and to see that we have someone who has the experience and the heart to understand that our children have dynamics, that it's just not, oh, they're acting out, but they need help. And so we're happy again. If you're more interested in finding out more about Fit to Lead, which is this program through Peace and Prosperity, we're going to encourage you to go to miamidade.gov under the Parks Department to find out ways that our children can be assisted. Now, let's continue this youth vibe. Most certainly we're in summertime. Our children have been out of school. Some of them are in summer camp. Others are just laying around the house. Well, it's my pleasure to bring back to our what I'm considering to our home place. And I say bring back because he's with us almost every month, not here on this platform, but in our Together for Children network. It's my pleasure to bring into our homes and right here on this radio station, Mr. James Lopez, Executive Director of Power U. What in the world is Power You, sir?
First off, thank you for having me. I'm
Yes.
very humbled to be here. Yeah, Power You is a community-based organization. We're based mostly in Liberty City, and our mission is to develop the leadership of working class Black and brown youth so that they kind of help lead and deal with some of the community challenges that we have today. Recognizing the importance of young people historically in all movements. We believe that in order for us to kind of combat these issues, which are long-term issues, which are systemic, it requires young people to be able to participate in that process of identifying solutions with us.
So you're telling me the specialty of your life and your organization is to give a voice to young people,
Absolutely.
but more specifically, young people of Liberty City?
Yes, absolutely. We have this sort of dream where, we believe that you're a leader if you develop somebody who develops somebody else to do something that they don't think that they have the ability to do. And I think that's sort of the mission that moves our organization every day.
But you talked about systemic and issues. What would you say are the main factors that you encounter or some of those present issues you encounter with working with young people from Liberty City?
Yeah, I mean, I think at a basic level, there are just quality of life challenges. So often they're living in unstable housing because rent is really high and housing is unsustainable here. It is lack of actual supports. Mental health is a real big challenge, especially after the COVID pandemic, and people don't have the resources that they need to take care of themselves or to have safe and healthy families. And they feel that on a very visceral level. And our hopes is to try to get them to realize that you have the ability to help address and change those things. That these are the cards that we've been dealt. It's not necessarily anybody's fault, but we have the agency and the ability to change these circumstances.
You bring up, I mean, what you just said is so layered. Number one, dealing with housing instability, right? And you would think for so long, because I was reared in Liberty City. I mean, grew up on 55th and 12th, and then eventually my parents were able to get a home on 56th and 24th. And so Liberty City, Brownsville is what I know, a student at Orchard Villa, student at Charles Drew, and then the best high school this side of heaven, Northwestern. Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, we just celebrated in the month of June my 30th class reunion.
All right.
I don't know what 30 years went, but anyway, ain't nobody talking about our age or nothing like that. It was that other girl named Latasha who graduated
right.
in 1991. But 30 years later. And so I've been a part of this community and understand it is so important to give voice, but being able to call someplace home, and feel okay with that. But just the other day, James, I was just looking through Redfin, just looking in the housing market. And down the street from our community center in Annie Coleman, better known as PSU, which they're going through their whole renovation process, a home sold for $350,000 in the hood, in Liberty City. How can families afford that? And can you imagine the littlest resident or citizen of our community, how that impacts the quality of their life?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a big problem that we don't
Because you
often
have to
talk about.
decide rent or grocery, right?
No, that's right. And I think we were having a conversation outside. I think most people don't realize that the majority of people who live in Miami-Dade County are renters. And we feel that at a school-based level because we work mostly with students in Liberty City. And the Miami Northwestern of 30 years ago is not the same today in terms of population.
It's not.
Right? And where are these young people going? Where are these families going? They're leaving because they can't afford high rent. Right? And I think that's a big problem that affects the funding around our education system. And we have a county that doesn't necessarily kind of address some of the kind of lack of oversight that developers play. Gentrification obviously exists. And I'd say at a basic level, what families can do is to be tied to community organizations and really get involved and ask some of these questions around annual budgets. How is affordable housing actually being allocated? Where is it going? Because you actually have a say in doing that. You just got to make sure you know where the meetings are and community organizations can make sure that you go there.
And make sure you have a voice. And so we talked about housing instability. You raised the whole mental health piece, but dog, I can't leave this point that you just brought up about giving voice and power to the young people. So talk me through some of that processes.
Great.
Of, as you say, being tied to a Power You, being tied to a Miami Children's Initiative, getting involved when you see that we're hosting events. Come and be a part, be a part of our mailing list so that you can see the things that we're doing. When we're hosting events, when you're hosting events, we want to encourage you to be involved so that then as things are happening, we can then inform you. But as you talk about, what are some of the systems or what's some of the processes that you take the young people through? What's the process of me becoming a part as a young person, a part of Power You?
Great. So usually it happens when the school year starts. So in the fall, we really just welcome young people with social events. We have members who have Halloween parties, just sort of game nights as a way to just sort of build relationships and build rapport.
Okay.
When they want to get more involved in members, it starts in January. The process pretty much goes through a series of conversations that really ask people, what do you care about? What are your dreams? What are the issues that you see in your neighborhood? And then really asking them, why do you think they exist?
Right.
And doing that in a collective way where people realize that their individual problems are not just their own, there's actually trends.
It's actually
right?
a trend, yeah.
And then we say, okay, well, you're not the only person that faces that. Why do you think this is? We then provide them with some history lessons around the history of this country. And then we say, you have ideas. You need to talk to the people to actually understand what they believe and what they care about.
So this is whole social and civic engagement.
Absolutely.
It's teaching them the understanding of how government works, understanding how they can be an influence, even sit on some of the youth councils and all of that kind, right?
That's right, yes. Youth councils for sure. And I think our foundational thing that we also tell them to do is we need to actually talk to people in our neighborhood. You know, we kind of joke around the old adage of don't talk to strangers. And we say that's actually counterproductive in how to get change done.
Right,
and
right.
that if you have problems, we want you to go knock on your neighbor's door and say, what do they care about? What are their issues?
Right.
And it really opens them up to a world where they're doing things they would not normally do. And they're realizing, oh, actually, this person who's 30 years older than me has the same issues as I have.
Right.
Or they want the same things. Why is this happening?
And that we're more alike than we are different.
Absolutely, precisely.
Yes, yes. And so that's outstanding. Now let me get to the next layer of kind of how you kind of stacked your response earlier. You talked about the COVID mental health pandemic.
Right.
Tell me, what have you seen as an impact on young people and some of their frustrations or expressions or maybe even enlightenment that they've had in this COVID period and working with the youth?
That's right. I think everyone, regardless of age, is tired of virtual meetings and Zoom. You know, and some, at least for the people who had to do that, young people that we've worked with, they fundamentally just miss being in real human connection in person with other people. If you have a hard situation in your home life and sometimes you just want to get out of the house, you weren't really able to do that during COVID.
Right.
And then for after school programs or job placements, you know, you're being expected to be on a Zoom call for 7-8 hours to then get off that Zoom call to then join a Zoom call for our after school program. And
it made it very difficult. We share that pain.
That's right.
Because we had to become extremely creative in how you kept children engaged.
That's right. And that doesn't even consider not only the mental health need, but just the real material need that their family had. So you did this, and I know some other folks did. You know, we also helped provide them with care packages and providing them with food and gift cards and just saying, however we can help take care of you, because no one really knew what was happening in the economy in that moment.
Right,
So it was
right.
all
And how we were going to even come out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that stuff still persists. I think there is fortunately increased awareness in the importance of mental health plays in schools, in our communities, and I think we're not out of that bad water yet.
No.
But I do think I have seen an increase in investment in the importance of mental health, so that young people can begin to get the services that they need.
I think so. I think it was, especially in Black and brown communities, it's a needed conversation.
Right.
I have joked along with my own family to say, now y'all know we all a little crazy, right? That's how I just kind of broke the ice.
That's right.
Just to say, let's be very real about what's present in our family's history. Because some things, are some traumas cause some mental health,
Right.
but some things it's a chemical imbalance. So let's talk about that. We all just a wee bit crazy, and we know that gene running our family. So let's deal with that. But again, giving a safe space, and I think that's what Power
That's
You
right.
does.
That's right.
It gives the youth a safe space to express that.
That's right.
Is absolutely outstanding. And so let's talk a little bit more now, bigger or larger scale, in this county-wide youth empowerment position through Together for Children.
That's right.
So tell me, how did you get involved with Together for Children? And then let's talk a little bit about specifically some of the work that we've done collaboratively together.
Yeah. So, I think the hardest thing that people realize about Power U, the first thing they ask when they see a program like us, they say, what kind of services do you provide?
Yes.
Right? And my response is like, well, we don't provide a service per se, but we recognize the importance in service plays in just the improvement of people's lives. And for us at a foundation, we believe that our society is better off when organizations that do great work like MCI that do provide services actually have the ability to grow, to be able to reach more families. Like that is what we're committed to.
Okay.
And the Together for Children initiative was an opportunity for us to be in relationship with service providing organizations and realizing that we need to be able to provide services and we need to be able to create space for people to engage in civic participation. And that the two of them actually benefit each other.
They do.
If people have what they need, they're able to engage in society in a more informed way. And if people engage in society in a more informed way, there are more resources to take care of our neighborhoods.
And so then being able to help facilitate those roles that, listen, as those organizations raise people to this is your next level of empowerment.
Exactly.
Is that what we're saying?
Exactly.
And so then let's talk a little bit about how we brought some young people together just a few months ago to do an assessment. What was your role in that? And let's talk about what came out of that.
Yeah, so in terms of the assessment, I work with, we call them youth organizers, who are essentially there to build relationships and challenge young people to provide input on what are the things that they're seeing, what are some of the challenges, and this tied to a survey and a series of focus groups where young people were able to identify some of the things that they care about.
Yes, and we talked a little bit about that with Kathy, that often the cart is before the horse, and maybe that's the Alabama country part of me that I keep using southern or country or rural analogies. But understanding that often young people have come into spaces where we, the adults, have dictated to them that this is what you need, or these are the services that you need. And it is so far off from what they actually need. This assessment did what for this?
It inverts it on its head, right? It says that we recognize the role that young people play in their own lives. They are able to see problems that we don't see, and sometimes they see the same problems. But if we want to build a stronger ecosystem and be more effective in what we do, we need to get insight from people who are directly receiving the services.
And who's a part of that community.
Exactly.
And so it was tremendous to have your support, Girl Power, of course, again, MCI, to bring together over 20 plus youth to sit together and have a conversation about what they see Liberty City and the needs they have. And they talked about the fact that they saw community disorganization and that they felt more appreciated within their home than finding a safe space outside in the community that would rally and support them, thus then providing an incubator, if you will, for potential gang activity because they're looking for a sense of reward and a sense of purpose.
That's right.
And so to hear young people say that, and that many of them were just looking to survive, let alone talk about future aspirations. And so in hearing some of those things, how did it move Power U?
It made us deepen our commitment to what we do as an organization. It often doesn't get talked about in history books, but people don't recognize any great change that's happened in any society here in the U.S., but globally, has played a role. Young people have played a significant role.
Every time you say it again, my family, I'm city country, so my family is from Alabama, right down the street from Montgomery. And so my mom was there when Dr. King was pastoring in Montgomery. And so, and the whole Rosa Parks movement and all that. And that's so limited. That's just so short-sighted. But you look at the John Lewises and others who were a part of those, and they were young people, right? They were young college students. They just were trying to figure it out, that they just knew something was not right. And they then were able to get a trail of younger people to follow behind. Is that what your motivation is?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's funny you brought up John Lewis. I always think about that scene from Selma where they show Dr. King coming in and they show the young John Lewis. And they're kind of hostile towards Dr. King. They're like, we've been doing all this work organizing these people, and he's just going to come in with his speech and
like
take all the credit. Right? But it just shows that young people not only have skin in the game, but they actually really help contribute to building strong movements and strong communities.
Yes. Well, as we begin to wrap up, I just want to thank you most certainly for this time that you've given us. How could this audience circle back to find out more information about Power U? And if they wanted to get some of their young people involved, because there is a partnership, I also believe, with organizations like the NAACP Youth Council and all that kind of stuff. So share a little bit about that and how can this audience reach out to you?
Yes, so at a basic level, poweru.org is the website where you can learn more about the organization. In terms of our Instagram, we keep it updated on all the events to get plugged in. That's at PowerU305, Power in the letter U, 305. And then we have a series of town halls this summer. The Miami-Dade County School Board will have a budget town hall on July 28th, and we will be there. You'll see folks with green shirts canvassing your neighborhood over the next couple of weeks. So if you see a green shirt, say hey, and then connect with beautiful organizations that we're in relationship to.
That's awesome. Well, again, James Lopez, Executive Director of Power U. It's been phenomenal having you. Listen, that shows you that young people have a voice. And if you've got a child in your home, grandchild, that you think is always talking back, they always sassy, they've got something to say, or they talk too much, maybe, just maybe, you may be raising up the next James, Latasha, or John Lewis. Let's get them plugged into these organizations like mine or Empower You, that they can find their voice, and we take all of that energy and then properly put it where it needs to be. Well, it's been our distinct pleasure having you today. Thank you guys for joining us. We thank you always for joining MCI Live. You can always follow us, and we encourage you to follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, and that is at I Am Liberty City. And you always can find out all other information about us and activities at MiamiChildren'sInitiative.com. God bless and have a great rest of your month. Happy 4th of July.